All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rob Cutrone. This is the Social Capital Podcast, episode 010. We are here at Aruga's on the corner of Main Street in Patchogue Village. Today, I am extremely excited, super happy, long time coming to announce, and my guest, Mr. Darren Meenan of the Seven Line Army, a Met fan, fanatic company. Darren, thank you so much for making it.
Thanks for having me. Long time coming. We've been talking about this for probably 5 months.
No question.
I'm glad it's finally happening.
What a natural on the mic Darren is. And what's so cool is that we've had so many incredible conversations really at the back table at Coho Coffee House. And we've said, listen, we need to box this up and we need to bring this somewhere so we can kind of share these great conversations really about family, about life, and about business. Obviously about running as we kind of meet today. We're going to have the Milltown Run Club, the Move Fast, Lift Heavy Run Club, the Coho Athletic Run Club come. And
Sayville,
the Sayville Run Club. Yep. Yes, SRC is here. We have DJ Biso on the ones and twos this evening. Ron, thank you so much for being here. Absolutely incredible evening, and really all surrounding the kind of Yankee Met rivalry and fun love affair, so to speak. But Darren, let's kind of get into obviously the founder of the Seven Line. Talk to me kind of how that started and kind of what inspired you to get that kind of off the ground.
Oh man, how much time you have?
Yeah, well, let's go.
Well, I don't know. It's really tough to bottle up what the Seven Line really is. I think a lot of it is about community, more so than just being a Mets fan. There's some people here actually that I know from that lifestyle that then brought me into this new running lifestyle, but that's a whole nother story. But so basically, long story short, I knew I never wanted to work for someone else but myself. And from a very early age, I was like, how can I hustle? How can I make money and put it towards what I love doing? So whether it was back in the day, like shoveling people's houses or doing, odds and end jobs here and there, trying to work for myself and trying to further, what I can do for, enjoyment, So I had a BMX company in the 90s that was pretty big and had distributors in other countries, and I sponsored local riders, and I was selling t-shirts out of my backpack at races basically. And after that, I bought my own screen printing press from my parents' basement in Queens, and I was doing, t-shirts for local businesses, bands, pizzerias, so on and so forth. And at the end of 2009, I was like, well, why don't I kind of bring my knowledge of what I already know how to do in the apparel industry and what I've already done in the BMX industry and bring it to baseball, which at the time wasn't really done yet. Internet was relatively new as far as like e-commerce. The Instagram wasn't even a thing yet.
Sure.
Facebook was doing its thing. But so anyway, made some funny shirts, went to Citi Field with them. Didn't realize it was going to be a business. It was like, hey, can I sell these t-shirts and then put the money towards more tickets and just come back tomorrow? And then that turned into an actual business. And in the off season between 2009 and 2010, the Seven Line was officially born. 4 years later, I got a licensing deal with Major League Baseball, a store in Citi Field, and then kind of like the rest is history. Like that's the long story short, but it was really like BMX to the Mets. It was kind of like a natural transition for me, just like doing what I already kind of knew how to do,
Sure. I mean, listen, I really can't think of anyone that embodies community really more than Darren. I mean, Darren has established himself as really the authority figure for anyone that is a Met fan.
You can't say that. You can say that here, maybe. If you say that online, though, there's a lot of, I mean, not to cut you off, but like, it's tough when, my buddy Bowers here, he's been a member of the Seven Line for a long time. And when other Mets fans think that the Seven Line is like the voice of the Mets fans, that rubs them the wrong way. Because I don't ever want to speak for anyone but myself, So when I say something we were talking about this the other day, when I write something on the Seven Line's Twitter, I write we all the time. I don't write me. but I've written every single tweet. I've posted every single Instagram photo, every single Facebook post, every single email blast. I've done all of it now for 17 years. But no one else has ever touched the buttons on anything posting online. But when a player recognizes the 7 line, or we get some shine in some newspaper article that says the Mets fans, whatever, and they name the 7 line, people who don't sit with us see that as like kind of like a slap in their face, being like, well, I'm a Mets fan too. I don't have to sit with the 7 line to be a Mets fan. So it is cool to get that kind of, like you were saying, like the respect, but there are some people from the outside that look in and be like, well, the 7 line doesn't speak for me just because I'm a Met fan, you know?
Sure. I mean, listen, and the thing is to testify as to how strong of a grip you have on your community. Darren had a contest earlier in the year giving out these Apple mugs, these home run mugs.
Yeah.
And what was crazy is Darren said to me, listen, I have X amount, but Rob, I'm going to give you 4 extra. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell, once everybody is sold out, I'm going to give 4 at Coho. And let's see if anybody wants to come down. And if they say the magic word, I think it was Apple, something like that, that they'll be qualified to get the 4 remaining mugs that
For free, yeah.
Correct, for free. Now, he said this at 8 o'clock, and by 10 a.m., all 4 were gone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was like, this guy is legit. This guy really has a grip. He obviously really knows what he's doing. Really, I mean, when you're the one who's behind the keyboard for every single post, I mean, that is tremendous passion. And I mean, for anyone that follows Darren on IG or any social media platform, this guy leads an army, you know, literally the 7 line army, waving his flag, Met Orange. Talk to me, Darren, as to kind of how you started from, I guess, your BMX career, and then how that kind of folded into the Met fan culture.
Some people might be confused by that, but like, oh, this guy sells t-shirts. Like, what does that mean? Like, how is there a community behind that, you know? So the shirts just turned into like a way for me to go to more games, like I was saying. But at the time, McFadden's was at Citi Field. So I became friendly with the owners and the managers there. So I would actually I would pull up along the side of, now it's called Seaver Way, with my car, and I'd bring out a folding table. I'd bring Tupperwares of shirts, and I would sell shirts in the stadium at the bar without a license with MLB.
Sure.
So the Mets were like, what is going on here? Like, this guy's selling shirts. We're not getting a piece of it. MLB is getting mad. Like, how is he doing this? What's going on? I was usually using basically like guerrilla marketing and elbow grease to be like, I'm doing this, and come stop me, basically. And then I did eventually get sued. But so basically that turned into like, hey, all these people like the shirts. Why don't we go to a game together? So the last game of 2012, the Mets were not making the postseason. It was a Thursday day game. R.A. Dickey was on the mound going for his 20th win of the year. He had 19 up to then. I bought, I think, like 50 tickets from the Mets, put them on my website, and included a shirt with it. And that was the start of the 7 line army. So we sold the 50 tickets immediately. I bought 100 more. Those sold out. I bought 100 more. Those sold out. We ended up selling 570 tickets, I think, for that Thursday day game for a team not making the playoffs. And all these passionate fans came together. So it was like, all right, I like the Mets. You like the Mets. We're not busy on this Thursday day game, and the Mets are not making the playoffs. Let's kind of like see them off to the offseason. And that brought everyone together. And from that moment on, I looked around, I was like, he did get the 20th win. I went to Staples the day before, and I printed out, I think like 300 sheets of paper that said Dickey 20, and I handed them out right after the game. Everyone was holding them up. And you could see a photo, if you Google it, from that game, the Shea Bridge, which is directly behind our section. All of the Mets execs are standing there watching us out there celebrate the 20th win, saying to themselves, because I talked to them afterwards about it, like, how do we do this? How do we bring this many people to the game? And they can't, and you know, not for nothing, they can't. Teams try, and they can't. The judge, you know, no offense to your team, judges chambers, that's cheesy. You know, it's not organic. It's not organic. It's not run by the fans. If it's not run by a fan, then it's not really taken as serious. So like, out in Seattle, they had the King's Court, cheesy.
Felix,
you know,
King Felix.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah.
Sure.
So it's like
Felix Hernandez.
Things that are run by the team isn't really taken as serious. So anyway, that day I was like, how do we do this more, and what's next? And that turned into what it is now. We've done 150 something outings. We have a winning record as a group, which is nice to say because we've seen some horrible teams since 2012. We've been to every single Major League Baseball stadium besides, we have 5 more. We're going to Chicago next month, August 31st.
The White Sox.
Yeah, I'm sorry, White Sox, yeah. Our first ever road game, though, was Wrigley. That was nuts.
Sure.
Dude, it was nuts. So we showed up first. The Cubs fans are, you know, obviously very passionate, but the bleachers are not numbered. It's basically like a GA ticket. And I knew that. So I told all the Mets fans that were cheering with us that day, I think it was like 600 fans, like, listen, we're getting there first. Get in line, bring some snacks, go to the bar if you have to get off the line and go to the bathroom. Do not leave your spot. When that gate opens, we're going to go secure our spot. And we took over the whole left field side of the bleachers, and the Cubs fans that showed up were pissed.
Sure.
Like, this is like, if you went there, you bleacher creatures, whatever, right? Like, this is my seat. I sit here every day. Well, not today, dude. Yeah. So we owned Wrigley. I mean, the Mets lost, but whatever. Like, we owned Wrigley for that day. And that's why we can't go back to Wrigley. They won't sell me tickets anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, something that's incredible that I don't think many people know is that you had a chance to sit down with Mets owner Steve Cohen, billionaire, and kind of had a chance to speak with him. What was that like?
It was crazy, man. Like, so I knew about that about a week or two before opening day. Last year, we went down to Miami. It was our third trip down to Miami. Our first ever outing down there was, I think, 2014. Yeah, I think it was 14. And ended up being DeGrom's first ever win. We were there for it, which was cool. We were there for a lot of cool things. But anyway, so our third trip down there, I became friendly with the Cohens after they bought the team, which is crazy to be able to be like,
hey, Steve.
First name basis with the owner. You know,
how you doing?
It's nuts, man.
Multi-billionaire.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Richest guy in baseball.
So I got a phone call a week before opening day. It said, hey, you know, Steve wants to kind of thank you guys for your passion, and he knows you're going down to to opening day in Miami. He wants to sit with you guys. I'm like, listen, I'm all for it, but he's gonna get mobbed. So I mean, I'm happy to have him, and you know, I'm honored to have that respect from the owner. But when he gets down there, it's going to be a zoo, and they're like, all right, we'll try our best. So I didn't even tell I had an Airbnb across from the ballpark. I didn't tell anybody that was going to happen until the morning of. I told my buddy Brian, he's probably here or he's coming here soon. I'm like, hey man, Steve's going to sit with us today. He thought I was lying. And then I get a text about the third inning or so, and he came and sat with us. It was crazy. Photos were everywhere. It was a big story afterwards, you know. And you know what? I'm not saying he wouldn't have done it anyway, genuinely. But the team's not dumb. They know, like, that's a great photo op for him. It looks great with our crew. Looks great for the 7 line. I mean, I'm never going to say no to something like that. But it worked out, and it was all over SNY. It was in the newspaper the next day, and you know, it was great.
There's no greater fan base, I would say, though, than the 7 line army for the Mets. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I mean,
there's no greater fan base
that
the Met fans.
Greatest, maybe it's tough to.
There's no larger or maybe more passionate.
That's the way you could say it. You know, you have to be so selective, and you know, I have really, really tough skin. I mean, I almost try to, like, my daughter's here. I try to, like, not sometimes open up my mentions online because there's always going to be someone that has something negative to say, and not that I want to shield her from that, but like, you know. There's haters everywhere, but if you don't have haters, you're probably not doing something right. You know, so I could take it.
I listen, I would like to believe going into the Subway Series that the Mets have their fan base that really is their family. And I could speak that my Yankee fans, we are a family, 100%, 55,000 plus on their feet tomorrow evening. For those that don't know, we have a 56-person coach bus going from Coho at 2 p.m. We're going to arrive at Yankee Stadium, enjoy as a crew, Yankees and Met fans on board. But listen, it's all love. You know, when you have that army and you're around, you're hopefully amongst what you feel is family.
Yeah.
You know, I can certainly say that if I'm sitting in the bleachers and the bleacher creatures, that, you know, I'm at that for those 3 hours of my day that we're family and that we're rooting for each other and obviously with one goal and with our team in mind, which makes so much sense. You know, the synergy between you and I personally as friends and obviously as runners, which is so great. Thanks for everybody who came out this evening. But it really speaks to something larger. And I think, you know, it speaks to your grit. You know, you've always come off as somebody who's extremely gritty. Darren, talk to me what life was like prior to the 7 line and really where you got your entrepreneurship spirit from.
Well, like I was saying in the beginning, I kind of knew, not that I have a problem with authority, but it's kind of like, if I have an idea and I can make some money off of it and try to be passionate about it and have it be authentic and real, why not? You know? So, this was just kind of like a natural thing I fell into. Like, I didn't go to business school. I didn't go to marketing. I never took a course for what I do. My course is just like
trial and error,
common sense, and, you know, whatever, trying to kind of put a plan in motion. But, my focus shifted obviously since the beginning, because 2009, I was 29. Before that, I was basically bartending and hanging out, not living a very realistic lifestyle, which I certainly couldn't keep up with myself. I wrote something the other day, like, you know, running wise. I couldn't keep up with myself at like a bar at 29, but the 29-year-old could not keep up with me at the gym today. You know, so it's like certain things change and your motivations change. And now I'm a family man. I got a wife, I got a kid, I got a mortgage, I have rent, I got a lot going on.
Sure.
And it's to the point where like this has to work, you know, and that's why I work as much as I do, you know.
Well, it seems like it certainly has. I mean, like I said, when I think of the Mets, I can't help but think of Darren and the Seven Line, and really what you've built and the community that you've built. It certainly has created something that probably really wasn't there. I know in 2000 when the Yankees played the Mets in the World Series, the Seven Line didn't exist.
No.
You know, nothing like that existed, even from a Yankee standpoint. Extremely challenging to do something like that from a Yankee standpoint, obviously, as there's just so many, you know, diehards that go through generations. Where do you see the Seven Line today, and kind of where do you see the Seven Line going in the future?
I don't know. That's my favorite part about it, you know, because it's not like it's certainly not a plan to have no plan, because like if you're in any other kind of business, you need a plan. You need a business plan. You need to have some kind of goal set. And I'm sure you have a bunch. You know, you've been crushing it, obviously, especially at your age. Like we talk about that a lot. You know, not that I want to flip the script on you a little bit, but like our ages are, you know, we have a little bit of a gap between us, and I wasn't as successful as I am now as I was when I was 31. Not by far. You know, I was kind of just getting started in this, but I don't know. I kind of let the fans dictate what's going to happen next, you know? So as far as like a plan, the only thing I really have planned that I want to do is after we complete the next 5 ballparks on our list, I want to put together a book. So the book is going to be all about ballparks and, you know, a little bit about us with it, where it's like, this is the game that we went to. This was the shirt. This is a photo from it. But I want to actually have testimonials from fans that were at that game, that something happened cool to them, you know, like Mets could have lost, but you could have met your wife. You know, we have our group, wives and husbands, some divorces, whatever. There's a lot of things have happened between people that have met because of the game that have nothing to do with the game. And I think I take pride in that more so than anything.
Sure. I mean, listen, the reality is I'm very similar. Just putting people together means the world, you know, just community. Obviously the Seven Line really representing the Met community, but even larger than that. Something I'm super big on here in Patchogue is bringing people together. Obviously, having all the run clubs that are here this evening.
Yeah, people are filing in now.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, and to see everybody out and to see everybody active and to see everybody looking to be healthy and enjoying each other's company, you know, obviously that means the world. You know, that means the world, because that's something I really, truly, firmly believe in the core of my heart, that that really is the basis of a healthy, happy community. And you know, Darren, talk to me kind of how you got into running. Obviously I know you were always an athlete, but talk to me how running and you being here today was possible.
Well, it all goes back to last summer. I had a herniated disc in my back, and you know, I can kind of thank coffee for even being here right now today, talking to you, because you and I were having a discussion. Clearly, I was going to Coho before that, and the local motocross track had closed. So I was only riding once in a while when I went from riding 4 days a week. So it's the same thing. I'm kind of going through a hip injury right now, but same thing where if you run 4 days a week, you don't run for a month and then you run super hard once a week. And that's what blew my back out. So I was going to Coho, talking to you, and Bayport Athletic Recovery was doing that 20-day challenge, pull plunge every day. And you're like, well, why don't you give this a shot? So I went over there, signed up for the challenge. And the same parking lot is Bayport CrossFit. So I'm sitting there cold plunging every day. I have a Sprinter, a transit van, whatever. I'm in the parking lot stretching with these resistance bands, and all the gym members like, what is this weird guy doing in the parking lot every single day stretching instead of just coming to the gym? And they got my ear. I went into the gym, and that was October of last year. This is crazy, dude, because like I feel like my wife says it too, I have a very addictive personality. So when I jump into something, I'm like full throttle, you know? And Asar said that too. He's like, dude, you need to figure out some rest days. You can't be this, you know, pedal to the metal every day. Right. And that's why I eventually got hurt. But so October I joined. November, Dan McNeil, who's going on the bus with you tomorrow, was like, hey, we're doing a turkey trot, Blue Point turkey trot. You want to do that? I was like, I don't know if I could run 3 miles. I barely run 1 mile. Sure. You know, because we do our CrossFit workouts where it's like, run 600 meters, whatever, you know? So I ended up missing the sign up date on that, but they were like, we're giving away a certain amount of bibs if you come the morning of the race. So I got there super early, got the bib, and then I got the bug that day, man. I was like, this is really cool. Ended up joining Milltown in, I think December, ran the Blue Point 10 miler in January, did the Brooklyn half in May. And now I'm signed up for the marathon in this November. So
the rest was history.
We'll see what happens, because now I'm going through this hip injury. But if all goes to plan and I can get back on the street and get a plan going, it would be pretty cool to run a turkey trot on one Thanksgiving, and then the next November 3rd already run a marathon. So
yeah,
we'll see.
From couch to marathon.
We'll see.
And with that, we're going to take a break.
Yep.
We're going to send all our run clubs out this afternoon, this evening. And we're about to go off in about 5 minutes. So we're going to take a break. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at the Social Capital Podcast, episode 010 with Darren Meenan of the Seven Line Army. Darren, kind of take me through your mindset and really kind of what you believe it takes to run the business that you run.
Be available 24/7.
Mhm.
Like, there is no, never not working, you know what I mean, in some aspect. So, it's funny when people follow me on social media and they see that I'm running at noon on a Monday or riding my dirt bike or whatever at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday. They're like, does this guy work?
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I'm always working, man. The second I wake up, I'm working. Right before I go to bed, I'm working. Before I had the license with MLB, we were allowed to sell internationally. Now we can't, unfortunately. The MLB properties basically says that my limits are in the States. So I'd be getting orders in all hours of the night, and I'd be replying to people in the UK because they're 5 hours ahead,
Sure.
So, it's tough though, because I've kept everything like super tight and close to the vest. I only have one full-time employee besides myself. So you look at our website, you see the outings we put together, you see the things that we're doing. You're like, oh, this guy must have a force, a sales force, whatever. And I just try to do as much as I can on my own, which is a good and bad thing, because like I was saying earlier about the social media aspect of it, of being the only one that's ever posted anything. I shoot the photos for our website. I take the pictures of the new products. I do everything. And since I didn't go to school for any of this shit, it's like, all right, what do I want to learn how to do, and how can I do that without having to pay somebody? Not that that's the wrong route to go, because clearly there's a lot smarter people than I am out there. But since I've been doing it for as long as I have, and I've been in this like t-shirt apparel game since the 90s when I was in high school, kind of just been, doing it my way instead of someone else's way. And you got to be ready to work around the clock and grind. And I was telling you this a couple of times, like, especially with how many things you're involved in, you can't say yes to everything.
Sure.
And you have to be able to delegate your time and responsibilities in a way that's constructive. And I feel like I've been paying more attention to that in the past, like, basically since my daughter's born than ever. What's important? What do I got to do as a husband, a father, a business owner, and a man, rather than like this maniac that wanted to just drink beers and watch baseball, Now that I'm drinking a beer as well.
Yeah, well, listen, that
Subway Series, man.
That very much lives inside of you. There's no question about that. You know what I mean?
Turn things off.
Sure. And it's very clear that you're very hands-on with your business, right? You're super hands-on and somebody who's proud to represent what they're putting out, whether it be merchandise or these community-related events. And when you look at all the events that you're doing, let's not discount, you were just over in London. What was that like? What was that like?
It was cool. We planned to run too. Like, my buddy here is, he just walked in. He doesn't run, and he basically sees running to him in his mind is like punishment from sports back in the day. Like, if you screwed up, you got to run, whatever. Since I've kind of adopted it at a later age and later stage of my life, I see it as fun. So, of course, we went over there for the game and watched the Mets, and Mets and Phillies played in London, which was a great event. But I also ran every day I was there. I think I did, over 20 miles the 3 days I was in London. It was fun, but the aspect of putting that together was it was good and bad, because it was out of my hands. MLB gave us like a 2-day window on Ticketmaster to sell the tickets. So it wasn't something that like I can kind of control. So I almost don't really see that as like an outing per se. Like, I'm not really counting that towards our record, because we didn't sell the tickets. There wasn't like an automatic shirt with it. So it was fun. It was fun to go over there. And my wife came, my daughter came. We did our 2 days of sightseeing basically, and watched the game on the Saturday, and ran on Sunday and went home on Monday.
Hey, listen, it's just amazing to see kind of your passion, really how running started here, right? And then kind of how you're bringing that over. And now you have the 7 Line Run Club.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that and how that kind of started.
I think kind of almost out of necessity, almost with like, how do I bring fans together to watch baseball? We're not getting any younger. So it's the kind of thing where you can certainly try to live that lifestyle forever, but you can't, you know? So why don't we try to mix in some healthy habits along with drinking 7 beers before the game? So why don't we run 7 miles first, you know? And then go meet up at the bar.
Sure.
And I know you brought up Steve Cohen earlier, sat with us in Miami for opening day. He came to the pregame party in London too. So like, I've been trying to figure out a way to work with the Mets as much as possible instead of like, why pull from opposite ends of the string when we're both doing something cool? Why don't we team up, you know? But like I was saying before, there's a fine line you have to walk where it's still considered cool. So it's like, if I do too much with the team, is that not cool, you know? So why would we promote 2 different pregame meetup spots instead of just picking one? So I worked with the Mets on that, and Steve came to it, which was cool. But yeah, you know, so the running thing and the running club basically was like, all right, we're going to be in London anyway. Why don't we wake up at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever it is, and go run first and then go to the pregame? So we're going to Chicago next month. Hopefully I could run, but I have a 5K planned for the morning before we go to our pregame spot. So basically just trying to, you know, maybe try to help motivate some people that maybe need an extra little push to do something that's not just drinking and tailgating and watching the game, which is fun. Don't get me wrong, I love it. We're gonna stay here and watch the game tonight, and you know, I'm certainly gonna crush a couple cold ones. But like, you know, I also ran today. I mean, I would have ran much more, but you know, with this hip issue. But you know, it's really just trying to instill, you know, a sense of health and wellness into what I'm doing. You know, rather than just beer and baseball. You know?
I mean, and now we're going to dive down the lane of what it's like to be a husband and a father. And I know you touched on, we're not getting any younger, and I'm very big right now into doing anything that I'm going to do has to be a plus for me. I'm not going to do anything that's going to take away from me, or especially my health. You know, especially once you become a father now, thank God of 2, so blessed to be in a position, 2 healthy, beautiful children, a beautiful wife, and thank God a beautiful life. There's no question that we want to surround ourselves with people who are like-minded. We want to surround ourselves with those who believe that what we do is to make tomorrow a better day.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know you had the 7-line 7K planned. Now got postponed to September. So hopefully you'll be able to run in that.
Yeah.
Take me through, Darren, kind of how you started that and what that really all means in September.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I was saying, I'm still relatively new to this, but I feel like I've been running a while now. It's only been 7 months, but after I ran I think it was a 5K on New Year's Eve in Queens, run by Elite Feats. And we were running through Flushing Meadows, and at that time of year, there's no leaves on the trees, and you could see Citi Field from the course. And I was like, oh, that'd be pretty cool if the course would have went past Citi Field. And I'm like, dude, 2 days later, I not operated, but I planned the entire 7K from Coho. So I sat at like that week, first week of January, I sat in the back and figured out, you know, who to talk to, who to email, how do I start my own race and whatever. And Elite Feats handled the permits, and, you know, it's a lot went into it. And we have almost 2,000 people sign up for the thing. So it's a big event for our first year. We got some sponsors, Corona's involved, Northwell Health, Waterloo, like Mookie Wilson is a sponsor because he started his own catering company. Mookie Wilson, shout out Mookie. Legacy Catering, he started with his brothers. And we're doing this cool thing where the second mile of the race is called the Mookie Mile. So clearly there will be a winner of the entire race, but just the segment of mile 2 is called the Mookie Mile. I have a giant cardboard cutout of Mookie holding a sign that says Mookie Mile. And there'll be a special like timed segment of just that mile, and that person's going to get a Mookie Wilson jersey in their size. I'm getting a patch made for the sleeve that says 2024 Mookie Mile winner. So I'm really just trying to have fun with it, man. And hopefully it motivates someone to get off the couch. A lot of people actually, when I posted that, they're like, damn, we used to just promote tailgating and going to the bar. Now you want me to run?
Yeah. I mean, no, but the best part is, Darren, is that you're promoting what's good, right?
Look how many people are doing things like this. Diplo does his own run club. Travis Barker does his own run club. Like, people are trying to be like, all right, we're getting older. We can't live this lifestyle forever. How can we continue doing what we want to do and do it with a little bit of a healthy spin? My wife says this all the time. Like, I'm hard on my friends, and if I'm hard on you, that means I like you. You know, like if I didn't care about you, I wouldn't, you know, put as much time and effort as I do into trying to help motivate someone. And I do give a lot of unasked, you know, advice sometimes, which can kind of come off as like a dick, you know. And I get it. Like, sometimes when you give someone some advice or give them a suggestion, and they didn't ask for it, they could be like, well, you know, I don't want this guy's help, you know.
Sure.
But I'm hard on people, and I try to. It comes out of it comes out of a positive place, you know.
Sure.
At least I hope they know that, you know.
Yeah, listen, I can tell you, I mean, our relationship's been great, and I know that, there are times where, you may be down, and you hopefully surround yourself with the right people to lift you up. And by forming these communities that you're forming, whether it is the Seven Line Army or the Seven Line Run Club, there's a common bond of, like I said, what's good, right? Like, you want to do the right thing, you want to surround yourself with the right people, and then really what I think what's happened in the last couple of years, probably post COVID, is these brands that just want to get behind you, the brands that really believe in the idea of health and wellness. And I think, where that's going is a great place, where the Seven Line Army is going, and the Seven Line Run Club. What's next, do you think, really, for the Seven Line Run Club, or how do you plan on really building that?
I thought it was awesome. So in London, we had maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 people show up, and they weren't even from the US. So
Sure.
it's like, it's the same thing we were talking about before. Like, the Seven Line Army didn't exist before 2012, but it kind of did. Like, the mentality, or like the aspect of, we like being together to watch baseball, but it's not only about the game. The people that are coming out of the woodworks now that maybe used to be a runner, or they want to just try to adopt some kind of healthy habits. And they joined up with us. We had people from Scotland running with us that day, people from England, obviously, that live there. And when we go somewhere, it's the same thing like we were talking about before we went live about San Diego. Like, we went out there for an outing in 2015. When we go out there, you might be a Mets fan that has never been to Citi Field ever.
Mhm.
So we go out there with 1,600 people. We're bringing the fun to you.
What an incredible experience for them.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we
Sure.
planned a 5K run the morning of that game in Canary Wharf, which is an area in London, and people that live near there were like, holy shit, like, not only are the Mets coming here, I've never seen the Mets play ever because I live in England, but I'm a Mets fan. And now this guy's bringing a run club to my neighborhood.
Yeah.
So they like it, and it's really just getting people to hang out and be together and have fun.
Why the Mets? To take me through, Darren, to kind of like how it started. Where did the fascination of being a Met fan, especially in an area where it was so easy to probably be a Yankee fan?
Well, not near me. My grandfather worked at Shea. So
take me through how, like, the Mets kind of became such a big part of your life.
I was going to games before I knew there was even a game being played. I was an infant, So my mom would bring me to games. My dad worked a lot, and her father-in-law, my grandpa, worked at Shea as the head of the press gate.
Mhm.
So we didn't even need tickets. We would just show up. They would know that we were there, family members or whatever. Obviously, before 9/11, the security measures in the early 80s were much different than they are now.
Yeah, sure.
We'd walk up, say what's up to grandpa in the press gate. He'd finish what he was doing. The ramps at Shea, I don't know if you remember, there was ramps instead of stairs.
Yeah, going around.
Right outside of his office, which I could still remember exactly the whole layout of the whole thing. His office was to the left of the gate, and then right outside of his office, you could see the ramps from his desk. We'd walk up the 2 ramps right behind home plate. He'd whisper something to an usher. They'd open the fence, and I'd sit right behind home plate with my mom. So I didn't know I was even at a game. I was eating my, Conn's hot dogs and whatever the sponsors were back there, hanging out. And there was a woman named Bo. If you look up old videos from the 80s, she wore it was like it wasn't cardboard, but it was one of those hats that made out of foam, whatever, like the foam white hats. And she'd sit behind home plate. She'd, move her arms and try to spook out the opposing pitchers. And I was like, wow, the lady's having so much fun. And that's kind of what drew me into like that aspect of being a fan. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't really realistic, because as I got older, I was like, shit, you got to pay for these tickets. You got to, if I want to come to a game that's not through grandpa, you got to buy the tickets. But that really just sparked my love of what baseball was. And from then on, I was a Mets fan.
City or Shea?
City's a great experience to go watch a game. There's a lot to do, especially as a parent. There's a lot of things there for kids. Unfortunately, just the way that the world has transformed over the past however many decades now, there's too much to do at ballparks where instead of just watch the game. So at Shea, there was nothing to do. You'd go to the game at Shea. If you left your seat, I mean, there was TVs in the bathrooms. They never worked. There was TVs at the concession stands. They never worked.
Sure.
So if you wanted to watch the game, you had to be in your seat. So I learned the game at Shea. I loved Shea. I love everything about Shea. I mean, I got Shea tattooed on my arm and, all the neon signs and stuff. So like back in the day, I mean, you don't forget, where you learned to love the game, and Shea's always going to have a soft spot in my heart.
Yeah, I mean, I think Shea is certainly holds a special place for the diehard Mets fans, for the ones that were around for Shea. And I know how many people that have named their dogs Shay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
Dogs, kids.
yeah, for real. It's just one of those things. I know Chipper Jones named his one of his children Shay because he did so well at Shay.
I didn't like that. Someone asked him, his name is Larry actually. So when he comes to Shea Stadium, everyone would chant Larry at him. But so yeah, Chipper Jones said he named his kid Shay because he owned the Mets.
That's
it wasn't
right.
because he liked Shay. He says, I owned the Mets. I named my kid Shay.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah. But yeah, we even as a brand, the seven line, we have so much Shea related stuff. And the ballpark's been knocked down since end of 2008, and the Shea stuff still flies.
Mm-hmm.
So like Shea neon shirts, I'm coming out with an actual neon that says Shea.
Yeah, that's when the stadium had the neon. On the stadium.
I designed what it would look like if they had written the word Shea. I designed what that might look like.
Sure.
And so we have stickers of that. We have shirts. We have hats. I have a deal with New Era, so all of our hats are officially licensed with New Era. But license is cool, but I can't now come up with an idea and just go embroider it and have it on sale tomorrow. A lot of checks and balances. Who's going to approve this and who's going to approve that? Got to wait for the manufacturing. Then you got to pay a royalty.
Sure.
A lot involved. But Shea stuff, man, as far as merch is concerned, people are very nostalgic and they love it.
Well, that's what it is, right? I mean, when you think about, where the Mets really came from and their success in '86 and, getting to the World Series in 2000, we all know what happened there. We won't talk about it.
Yeah.
But that was.
And you weren't born in '86.
No, but in 2000,
I
remember it very well.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Of course, I had to bring that up.
Yeah, of course.
Is there a player that kind of sticks out to you that when you think of the Mets or maybe a fascination? Is there a player that you'd say like that's my guy?
We've talked about this a little bit, personally, over at the coffee shop, but I feel like I kind of gravitate towards people with charisma and attitude and spunk, like Jose Reyes, how other players hated him, other teams and fan bases hated him because of how, over the top he was, but that's almost normal now. Like the way that Reyes acted in, 2007, whatever it wasn't really that much different than what they do today. And it's like, they love it, so he was like ahead of the time with that. But, guys like him and Strawberry and
Darryl.
Darryl, of course. I mean, it's cool too because Darryl ended up opening a bar right near my house when I had an apartment on Northern Boulevard in Douglaston. Mm-hmm. So I'm on like first name basis with Darryl now. So like he sees me, he's like, "What's up, D? How you doing? What's up? What's going on?" Like, which is crazy, dude. Like,
what a dream come true.
Yeah, nuts, dude. Yeah, nuts.
When you look at that '86 team, you look at Darryl and Hernandez, right, and Doc. And it's funny because so many of them have become Yankees and have had memorable moments as Yankee.
David Cone,
of course, Cone, right? And Dykstra, right, in '86. And I mean,
Dykstra's a mess, man. It's unfortunate, but he's a mess. He put something video up yesterday on Twitter. He's like got like no teeth, smoking cigarettes. Like it's unfortunate, but it's just these guys lived some rough times, and just like we talked about before, trying to get some healthy habits in your life. Sometimes when you have such a maybe addictive personality, and even though he was so successful as a baseball player, he couldn't turn it off, so unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing I feel like not a lot of people talk about, which is so important, is to again reeling it into health and wellness. But a lot of people talk about the fame, but they don't really talk about really what that comes with.
Well, it's who you surround yourself with too, like your nest or your net, whatever you want to call it, your spider web. Like if you have some like energy suckers around you or people who don't really have your best interest in heart,
sure,
and him and who was the guy? MC Hammer lost all his money because like his entourage was huge and everyone was getting paid, and which is great for his crew, but like that shit's not gonna last forever,
Man, if these guys could write a book, though, I mean, what an era that they lived in, and the times that they had. Forget it. I mean, I know David Cone and all of his stories. Forget it. That's something that
Darryl said many times. He's like, we're very lucky there was no social media in the late '80s, because now everything's documented. I was at the Blink-182 concert on Sunday night, and I was guilty of it too. I'm filming, whatever, but everyone is, and like no one's really, enjoying the moment,
Yeah, and as far as that it goes, I mean, we all know that everybody's filming, but no one really watches those videos ever again. So it's like you might as well just pay attention and be present, right? And how that kind of circles back is that, where the Mets are today is a time right now in their franchise where they're owned by Cohen. They're doing their best to make their run in the NL East. I guess I don't know. They're probably missing a piece like a Soto, right? I mean, obviously you'd love to get him. What do you think the Mets really need to do to get to the next stage?
Well, yeah, next year the Subway Series is on the 4th of July.
Right.
So it's going to be funny. Like, the first game of Soto playing against his ex team is going to be on 4th of July
Oh, no, he won't be
at
his ex-
City
he won't
Field,
be his
you know,
ex-team, no.
when he's a Met next year. I will see what happens. You know, it's crazy. The Mets started the season off. They lost their first 5 games, and everyone was like, not everyone, but a lot of people, especially like I was saying before about the mentions on social media and this and that. I read everything. And people were jumping ship after 5 days. And I was doing my walk around the ballpark one day. I did like the entire game and I was walking and I passed the same guy like 10 times. He's like, what are you doing, man? I was like, I'm just taking a walk. And he was like, the Mets suck. And it was like the 5th game. And I'm talking to the guy. I'm like, hey, I'll see you on my next lap. But like, pump the brakes, dude. It's game 5.
Yeah.
So the Braves are coming to town this weekend. I think it's a 4-game set. They've been doing this stuff where it's like Friday to Monday now, or maybe it's Thursday to Sunday, whatever it is. 4 games, right? We're 3 games behind them in the standings for the wild card. So we'll see what happens. I mean, this next week is crucial. Obviously, we got the Subway Series the next 2 days, and then 4 against the Braves. But the deadline, I think, is now a week away. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and you know, you're talking about going around the stadium. You have something where you have to jog. Talk to me about that. Talk to me. That's really interesting.
So I did the challenge through Sayville. Shout out to Brendan and everyone over at the Sayville running company. So they did a February's mile challenge where you had to run or walk at least a mile a day for the entire month.
Mm-hmm.
And back then I was actually going through another hip issue, so I wasn't sure I could be able to compete or accomplish the challenge, but ended up doing 120 miles in February. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. So there was a dude that works for Barstool, you're friends with, Kyle.
Yeah.
So Kyle, a bunch of years ago, did what I adopted, and I gave him full credit. It was walk or run 1 game per week. You pick the game, you can watch it live, or you can watch the replay or listen to the replay. But you have to walk or run from the first pitch to the last out of any game of the week. Mm-hmm. So he did that, and he ended up doing like hundreds of miles. Like, I don't even know what it was. So I posted the idea online. And I was doing it from the very beginning of the season. And then I think we started it officially on like the 3rd week. We had 120 people sign up for it. So it's all honor system. You have to upload your own results on Run Sign Up once a week. And it's all done virtually wherever you live, but people are doing it. And we had a couple meetups at Citi Field so far where like we walk at Citi Field because you can walk laps. And that was cool. I think my first time I did it was like 11 miles in the ballpark. Just walking for the entire game.
Thank God, though, for the pitch clock. I mean, speeding up the game going.
Well, yeah, you couldn't do this like 4 years ago where games would go 18 innings and 6 hours. You know? But it's cool.
There's no question. I mean, the idea of getting behind, running for the entire with that challenge has been great. And as far as, you know, I know you mentioned Kyle and the challenge that you had. Darren, talk to me kind of as far as where is like the ultimate goal for the 7 line? What is kind of the pinnacle? What is really the mountain that you're climbing, and what do you believe to be like the cherry on top?
I don't know, man, because I can't do this forever. Who's going to take the?
Sure.
I'm 40. I'm going to be 44 in November.
Damn.
So it's
nobody would know that. Sure, for real.
So I'm getting old, and not old, but you know what I mean. Like as far as the group is concerned, not that we're at a crossroads of like how do we continue this, but it's like baseball's fan base is not getting any younger. Mm-hmm. And as we get older, how do we continue this forever? Because I don't want it to go away. If one day I retire or something happens and I'm 60 and waving the flag out there, how do we continue this where it's not like we're just the old people in center field waving the flag, you know? So I don't know how to get to that point or how to bridge that gap. Do I finally hire someone who is like the face of the flag in the front and like try to bring some youth into the group? I don't know. But in 2028, that'll be my 20th season of doing the 7 line. So I don't know. I don't know what's next. I don't really know what's going to happen, but I'm not looking to retire anytime soon, but I certainly can't do it forever, you know?
With the community that you're building, though, I'm sure that
I was hoping like someone would, pass the flag to, like, not to cut you off, but like my daughter's going to be, she is 9. And she doesn't really have that much interest in baseball. And I don't want to push it on her. Like she likes cheer and she likes dance and likes gymnastics and, everything that she does, which is cool. I'm not trying to push my fandom on her.
Sure.
Because if she wants to do it, she certainly has the keys to the castle. But like, I don't think she kind of really, I think when I start doing more stuff like this, like when she walks in, she's like, wait, why are you being interviewed? Like, what's this about?
Dad's a legend.
Stop.
Yes.
But like when we walk in the stadium and like people want to say what's up and they're strangers, then she's like, oh, like what's going on here? So like it is starting to click a little bit more, but she doesn't really have much interest in baseball. So who do I pass the torch to? I don't know.
A former Met.
Yeah, right.
former Met. I mean, listen, that to me is huge. I mean, I know you've had encounters with David Wright.
Yep.
Name some other some Mets that you've had a chance to kind of work with.
A lot, man. Like, so we did, you know, on my show, it was a weekly show called Orange and Blue Thing. You could still check it out on YouTube and, you know, Spotify and iTunes and stuff like that. But, you know, I interviewed Mike Piazza more than once. And the first time he was on was through Skype. And that was when I was still doing the show in my basement in Medford. So we did like a test, because I would produce and host and I would do everything on my own, like with my laptop right there. I had no one behind the camera. So I would basically have to make sure everything was going to work live before I had Mike on, because I didn't edit anything.
Sure.
So I'm sitting there with Mike doing like a mic check at like 5:40 for a 6 o'clock show. And he's in his house in Florida. I'm like, hey, Mike, what's up, man? Like, we're sitting there just like chopping it up. I'm like, yo, this is Mike Piazza.
The Mike Piazza. Yeah. Right. Hall of Famer, Met legend.
We've done a couple things with him after that. Like, I made a couple t-shirts with him and I would hit him up. I'm like, hey, Mike, this is what I'm working on. Are you cool? Which I don't really kind of, at this point, which is kind of messed up to say, I don't really need to ask players their permission anymore.
Sure.
Because they have a licensing deal with, or they don't, but they're under the umbrella of the MLBPA. So if I have an idea for like Edwin Diaz, I don't have to show it to Edwin Diaz. I still do. Like, again, I'm not trying to like humble brag here, but like I can hit these guys up, you know, and they reply, you know, which is cool. But yeah, on the show it was everybody. Curtis Granderson, Mike Piazza, David Wright, I don't know, man. Daniel Murphy was on the show. A bunch of people were on the show. It was great. And you know, it had a good run, 7 straight years of doing the show. And I feel like we did a show end of last season where it was almost like I wasn't sure if that was goodbye to my podcast career, but I did kind of rattle off all the names of the people that were on it.
Sure.
And I was like, holy shit, this is a pretty impressive list. You know?
These are the Mets. These are the notable Mets. And on that note, Darren, we're gonna go to break, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna do a segment called Hit and Run. All right. So when we come back, we'll do a little hit and run.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right. This is our final segment of the Social Capital Podcast, episode 010, with my friend, Mr. Darren Meenan of the 7 Line. I have a very cool segment called Hit and Run. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Darren a list of questions. I want Darren to answer the first thing that comes to mind. My first question to Darren is better experience, DMX Darren or 7 Line Darren?
DMX or BMX?
Excuse me, BMX Darren. BMX or 7 Line?
7 Line, because I feel like, do I have to give answers why, or?
Yeah, expand.
Because it's more current, you know, like I feel like you got to be involved in what you're most passionate about at that time being. I mean, I love BMX forever. It's the pathway to everything else, but 7 Line.
Your favorite meal?
I mean, not good for you, but I'd say pizza.
Sure. Yeah.
If I had to pick right now.
No
pizza.
judging.
Yeah.
Your favorite restaurant?
Coho.
Love it. Great answer. Great answer. Me too. The best venue for a sporting event that you've been to?
I'd have to say Citi Field, obviously. I mean, it's home, you know, like
City over Shea?
To watch a game, City, yeah.
Okay.
Experience-wise, Shea. But, I mean, I could talk forever here. Like I was saying, I ramble a lot. I know this is supposed to be a quick segment, but like favorite ballparks are ones with like aesthetic vibe to it, like PNC in Pittsburgh, or San Diego, and you know, stuff like that. But as far as you know, just like the same reason I'd say Coho or whatever else, like you know what's good for you, you know what's home, you know. So Citi Field, yeah.
Love that. We love that. Favorite entertainer?
Seinfeld.
My favorite too. Special talent that you wish you had?
Guitar.
Playing the guitar.
Yeah, I took a couple lessons when I was a kid. I took like 2 and quit. It was too hard. I'm good at Guitar Hero, not actual guitar.
If you had 3 dinner guests, who would those 3 dinner guests be, dead or alive?
That's so hard, man. That's a hard one. Shit. I guess I'd have to say Seinfeld again, entertainment wise.
Okay.
David Wright.
That's why we're friends.
David Wright, Jerry, and shit, I don't know. You know what's? I'm not really. I guess Evel Knievel. I'm not really like starstruck by anybody. Like it's weird, you know, when I see people out. Not that I'm like this big shot or anything.
No. When you're sitting next to
like,
people going, it's like,
who should I eat dinner with? I was like, I don't give a fuck, whatever.
Sure,
but like,
sure.
I would say, all right, Seinfeld. What did I say? Seinfeld, David Wright, and Evel Knievel.
Awesome. What advice do you give a younger version of Darren?
stay the course. I mean, everything happens for a reason. You know, you're never going to probably succeed initially or immediately. And if you do, you probably just stepped in some good luck. But, you know, hopefully some happy coincidences happen, and keep grinding, and good things will happen.
For sure. The proudest moment in your career, what sticks out to you? The proudest moment.
We've done a lot for charity, actually, which I don't really talk about much, but like we did a lot for charity. We raised a whole bunch of money for Gary Carter's foundation before he had passed away, when he was diagnosed with brain cancer. We did a shirt that said, "We love you, kid." And every dollar was donated to his foundation. And then when he passed away, we made another one where it was an 8 with a teardrop, and all the money also went to the Gary Carter Foundation. So, Johan Santana wore that shirt underneath his jersey when he threw the no-hitter.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. Love
and
that.
then, you know, we sold a ton of shirts. I went down to spring training. I brought a check with me, went to Gary Carter's foundation, handed it over to them. And, you know, it was a proud moment. You know, it's good to do.
Philanthropy is so good for business. What we believe as well. So giving back is huge. That's great. If you had a mulligan in life, what would you do differently?
Nothing.
I love it.
Yeah, nothing. Like, I feel like every day I wake up now, I'm happy with where I'm living. I'm happy with my family, my wife, my daughter. And like, if I changed something, everything else may have changed after it, you know? So like I said to my wife, early on, before we were married, before we had Amelia, we were at a party for the 7 Line at McFadden's. And I was like, I'm so thankful. I said this to her when we got home. I was like, I'm so thankful that we're together, because right now I would not be home. Like, I left the party kind of early. You know, we still stayed to probably 1 or 2 in the morning, but like,
sure,
if I was single, I'd be there till 4. And, you know, like everything kind of, you know, you change the course, and, you know, you got to always kind of stay focused and know that you're going to hopefully wake up tomorrow and be successful. And if you waste your time, then you might not be, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, nothing. I wouldn't change anything.
I love it. It's 11, it's 12, it's 1 in the morning. You're on the couch. You're on the couch. You're watching Sports Center. What's your favorite late night snack?
Ice cream.
Easy.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to, but like, you know, now that I've been running it so much, like I'm not full anymore. And I've been noticing, like, man, I'm burning 3,000 calories a week running. I can kind of eat whatever the fuck I want, you know, but yeah. So yeah, whatever. I mean, ice cream.
What's your flavor?
You know, I don't mess with dairy. You know, I'm off the dairy and no meat, you know, for like 7 years now. So I don't like to say I'm vegan, but I try to stay away from, you know, certain things. But Ben and Jerry's thankfully makes pretty much every flavor you could think of as a dairy-free option. So I mess around with the
and they're coming to Patchogue.
I think it's like oatmeal something. Yeah, over here, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're coming to Patchogue. My last question of the Social Capital Podcast, episode 010. Trapped in a foxhole. Who's there to help you get out?
I'd have to say my best man, Brian Shoemaker.
Love it.
Yeah, right?
He's here tonight.
Yep. We have some funny stories. I don't know if he's in here yet, but yeah.
Shoo.
We'd find our way out of there.
Awesome.
You'd have to see. Ask Shu to pull down his pants. But
he's here.
He's got something on his butt.
That's great. Oh, that's great. That's how you know you guys are really.
Well, you know what? I can tell you the story, because why not? If you got 2 seconds.
Expand.
So we're drunk at his house on Mooney Pond. And you know what's funny? Like I ran a couple of times with Selden Hills Warriors, which Bowers here. And I didn't even know what Selden Hills was back during this story, but hanging out in Brian's house, and we were drinking for probably 13, 14 hours at this point. And it was a total frat house vibe, whatever, right? So his buddy at the time was a tattoo artist and had his machine with him. And long story short, we both have ass tattoos now.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. With that, I want to conclude episode 010.
What a way to end it
on the Social Capital Podcast. Darren, you were a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.